But now, to some great news for the ABC.
The federal government will reverse a controversial decision to freeze millions of dollars of ABC funding. From July, the national broadcaster will receive almost $3.3 billion over 3 years, while SBS will receive more than $950 million.
Restoration of the cuts means around $29 million more per year for the ABC over the next 3 years. And what a surprise! Only weeks ago in the UK, Boris Johnson's government announced it will freeze BBC funding until the next election in 2024. It threatened too to scrap the BBC licence fee in 2027, thus taking away its main source of revenue. And here in Australia, ABC critics, like the IPA, were putting out the flags.
BBC's funding axe proves the days of state-run TV are finished.
Refreshing, isn't it?
That IPA op-ed from Evan Mulholland got a run on the Murdoch Sky News with an even more pointed message.
The ABC should face the same axe which now dangles over the BBC.
And News Corp was also cheering on the IPA's anti-ABC campaign way back in November, which came from a dodgy IPA survey.
Their ABC poll.
It is unfair that Australians who don't watch the ABC are required to pay for it.
Now, it's not clear who funds the IPA, but one of its biggest backers in recent years is mining billionaire Gina Rinehart. And there is no mystery about its priorities. As former Media Watch host Jonathan Holmes told ABC alumni,
they want to privatise your ABC or abolish it completely. The ABC, of course, is paid for by you, the taxpayer. The IPA is paid for by... Shh, they're not telling.
4 months ago, the IPA launched a 5-part podcast attacking their ABC, starring Tony Abbott, who famously broke this pre-election promise in 2013.
No cuts to the ABC or SBS.
And he was backed by an army of Murdoch columnists like Maurice Newman, Janet Albrechtsen, Rowan Dean, Chris Mitchell, Chris Kenny and Peter Credlin, Abbott's former chief of staff.
I think they wear their activism now as a badge of courage.
They'll always feel free to push their ideological agenda.
The culture is now so deeply ingrained that it's almost like a cancer. You won't eradicate it.
If it were a subscription organisation, its audience would disappear instantly. I don't think anyone would think it's worth paying for.
But it's not only the IPA that has been campaigning for ABC cuts. For the last year, the results of similar polls from the Menzies Research Centre, a Liberal Party think tank, have also been making headlines in The Australian. And their claims about the ABC's unpopularity, alleged left-wing bias and lack of ethics have been taken up enthusiastically by Sky. You see a pattern here?
A majority of Australians say they would not pay a fee to watch the ABC if they had a choice. According to a new study, Menzies Research Centre says a whopping 2/3 of Australians think the ABC has an inherent left-wing bias. I'm surprised, Stephen Conroy, it's only 2/3.
Only 2/3. Look, I'm surprised that it was only 2/3 given who paid for that survey.
Menzies doesn't reveal its funding either, but its executive director is a former editor of the Weekend Australian, Nick Cater, and its board is packed with Liberal grandees like former ministers Nick Minchin and Andrew Robb and former party director Brian Loughnane, who is married to Peter Credlin. So, why did these well-supported campaigns from the political right ultimately have no effect? Put simply, a majority of voters still value public broadcasting. A poll from the Reuters Institute in 2021 found the ABC remains Australia's most trusted news brand. And 10 days ago, a poll from the left-leaning Australia Institute revealed considerable support for the ABC in key Liberal seats in New South Wales, facing a challenge from independents.
Vast majority of Wentworth and North Sydney voters want more funding for ABC.
The polling shows overwhelming support for increasing ABC funding.
Specifically, 2/3 of respondents in those two seats said they wanted cuts to the ABC reversed. And
almost 8 in 10 voters agreed that a strong, independent ABC is critical to a healthy democracy.
There is little doubt that poll would have played a part in the government's decision. Now, no doubt we'll hear a chorus of complaint this week from the IPA and Sky and News Corp columnists, but as they fulminate about the lack of trust in the ABC, they might note this finding from Roy Morgan's poll of Australia's most trusted brands in September. The ABC checked in at 14, which is not as high as it once was, but in the top 10 of Australia's most distrusted brands, at number 5 was none other than News Corp, the ABC's biggest critic. Distrusted less than Facebook, Telstra, Google and Amazon, but more than Rio Tinto, the banks and any other media organisation. Congratulations, folks. That is quite an achievement.
The bottom 20% get nothing. They're really unfair tax cuts.
People want to see much stronger action from the government when it comes to climate change.
It's no coincidence that we have a wages crisis in Australia.
Transitioning to net zero emissions, it doesn't seem like there's much room for gas.